Let's talk aripiprazole, or Abilify. I'm Sophie Charlotte and I have bipolar disorder. I've started this channel, again, to make mental health videos about bipolar disorder. I plan to make videos on all my medications I've been on, and my story, etc. So let's get into the video. What is aripiprazole? Aripiprazole, or Abilify, is an antipsychotic, a second-generation antipsychotic. By second generation, I mean that it is part of the group of antipsychotics that was essentially the second generation, hence the name. You had a lot of different antipsychotics which were made first of all, and then they sort of reformulated, tried to change things based on side effects, things like that. I don't know the science completely, obviously, but it was basically the second lot. Because of that, they're also known as atypical antipsychotics. It's mainly used to treat things like schizophrenia or bipolar mania, but also can be used as a mood stabiliser. It's been shown to also be used for things like borderline personality disorder, BPD, or emotionally unstable personality disorder, EUPD. It's also been used for depression, PTSD, and schizoaffective disorder. So what's the usual dose of aripiprazole? Its starting dose is about 10 to 15 milligrams, and it can go up to 30 milligrams a day, but the usual dose range is 10 to 25. What are the common side effects? So you can have things like restlessness, constipation, diarrhea, all the fun ones, headache, insomnia, blurred vision, like a lot of the other medications. They all have pretty similar side effects, but it can also cause things like a tremor, which I will get into. It's shown to also have a lower risk for weight gain, which is obviously, or if you didn't know, with antipsychotics, that's a very common side effect, is weight gain or weight changes, but normally weight gain from a little to a lot. And they say that aripiprazole is on the not least likely. There are some antipsychotics now that are shown not to change your weight or make any sort of increases, but with aripiprazole it's a little bit lower than some of the other ones, which is always a plus. So why was I prescribed aripiprazole? At the time I was coming to the end of a hypomanic episode. I was fairly aware that that's what was happening, and it was pretty much maybe a month before I actually got my formal diagnosis, but I knew that was what we were working towards, because I was filling out mood diaries and things like that, which I will get more into when I do my story or diagnosis story video. So I got put on it for hypomania, and yeah, that's the main reason. It was just for that. So how has it helped? For me, as soon as I went onto it, I noticed a massive difference. Within 2-3 days, I felt my hypomania, just starting to come down and level out. And it was so strange, because I felt like that for, I don't know whether it was weeks or months. It's sort of blurred into one, and I don't have the best memory of it. I never do. But I think it was about 3 days, and I was like, wow, my head feels really clear. Nothing's racing anymore. It's all just calm, and it's like all the loud noise in my head had just been shut off. And when I started it, after I felt like this, I nearly cried just through relief, because it just made everything manageable, and it just put me back into a stable place. It took a couple of weeks to fully get me back to that stable place, but it was those 3 days that I just noticed a huge change, and I never thought that was possible. It was mad. In case you're interested, I'm currently taking 20 milligrams, though I think this should be upped, because at the time of filming, although you might not be able to tell, I am in a hypomanic episode, and I think it is slightly moving towards a mixed state, which I don't want, but the irritability is almost like a warning, which isn't good. But I am very much having to slow down my speech and everything else, because it's very, very difficult, especially trying to make sense when filming this and not come across as too waffly or just going off on a million tangents. But I started at 10 milligrams and was it 10? Yeah, no, start again. I started at 5 for a week, then I went up to 10. I stayed on 10 for probably about a month, then went up to 15 for about 3 weeks, and then I went up to 20. And I've been on 20 for about a year and a half now, so it has worked, but I'm having breakthrough episodes, which makes me think it needs to be a little bit higher. What side effects have I experienced? Now, the main one for me is one that's been extremely annoying. I don't think I'll do it right now, but I get a really bad tremor in my hands to the point where I'll be holding my phone and if I try and take a photo, for example, my hands are just doing like this, trying to hold my phone, and it's just, I can never get a good photo or anything like that because my hands are so shaky. Some days are better than others. If I'm tired, it's always worse. But I've recently been prescribed a medication called Chemetrin, which is used to help with tremor, stiffness, all the things that might be a side effect from an antipsychotic, and I have to say it really helps. Like, my hands are pretty stable, which before they'd be just doing this. In particular, my ring finger on my left hand would just always go, and it was doing anything was an absolute nightmare. I also experience constipation with this, which isn't fun, but as I mentioned in my lamotrigine video, if you haven't watched that, I have IBS-C, which is exacerbated by pretty much every single medication I'm on, which really isn't helpful, and especially with everything combined, it's not fun. Girl be bloated, let's just put it that way. So I also experience blurred vision, and I have had eyesight changes as well, so my eyesight has got worse. Not massively, but enough that I've had to change my glasses a fair bit, and I didn't realise how bad my vision was compared to what I thought it was. So for example, at the moment I haven't got glasses on, I haven't got contact lenses in, and it won't be until I necessarily put my glasses back on that I'll realise, oh, this is what I should be able to see. Everything's just sort of a little bit blurry around the edges. So it's probably not the best idea, me not wearing glasses, but I'm filming. I didn't want to. Maybe I will in a future video, but for now, we're not doing that. I've also had to change the time of day that I take it because I couldn't find the right sweet spot. When I started, I took it in the morning because I'd heard it can sort of be quite energising, and if you take it in the evening, it could cause insomnia. So I took it in the morning, and I did find that it energised me, despite the fact I was hypomanic at the time I started it. But the longer I was on it, the more sedating I found it. Once it had got sort of into my system, it just made me so drowsy. So then I decided to take it at night, but then the insomnia hit and I couldn't sleep. So at the moment, I found my sweet spot, which is 3 p.m. So if I take it in the morning, I don't feel drowsy, and if I go to take it at night, I would just not sleep. So I found the sweet spot where it doesn't affect my energy levels too much, which is great, but that took a lot of trial and error to work out what time it worked to take it. Now, if you take this medication, you might have a completely different experience to me. You might have not found the best time to take it. You might have found first thing in the morning or last thing at night is best for you, but that's the thing. You have to try and see what's best for you, but always follow what your doctor says or your psychiatrist says, at least to begin with, and then discuss with them if you want to change the time of day, which was also something I did because I wasn't certain on when I should take it. And you can read 1,000,001 things on Reddit of people's experiences and when they take it, but you've got to take that with a pinch of salt. You always tend to hear about the bad experiences online and not really the good experiences, because if there's something wrong, people want to shout about it, which is why you often see very negative things about medications online. Saying that, I've had a brilliant experience on aripiprazole. I don't want to come off it. I'd say my only real negatives were the tremor, and I've had a slight bit of weight gain, which, coming from someone with a history of eating disorders, it's been difficult, I won't lie. It's been very triggering, but aripiprazole is in that sense is a necessary evil. I've just got to kind of pick my battles. And although it's like a daily fight in my brain, it's not like my weight's still climbing. It went up a little bit and then just plateaued, which is good, that it hasn't gone any higher. So I guess it really is one of those ones that has like a more of a mild effect, or at least for me, it had a mild effect compared to some of the other medications I've been on, which I will do videos on. Those are the only two negatives I have about this medication. Everything else for me has been perfect. It does what I need it to do. Stops me being manic, stops me being hypermanic with the odd breakthrough episode, but nothing severe. And I think that could just be that the dose needs increasing. But then, of course, with the tremor, you've got to keep an eye on that. So I get why my GP was hesitant when I first said, can we up it? And he wasn't sure, and he has now referred me back to a psychiatrist, which I may then do an update, because this could well change. My dose might change, the medication could change, but I don't really want to change medications because I'm really happy with aripiprazole. So if you have any questions about my experience with aripiprazole, please leave it for me to answer. If you want to share your experience, that would be great. I love to hear how things have affected people differently, and yes, although I say Reddit is a plethora of information that's not always accurate, it's good to hear from people exactly what pros and cons they've noticed from taking medications. It can really help in your decision to take it, because you can have something suggested to you, you can do some reading into it yourself, which was actually what I did before I got prescribed it. I did the reading into it, I suggested it, and my psychiatrist went, yep, that's a good idea. So yeah, if you've got a good experience or a bad one, I want to hear about it, because I find this stuff fascinating. Don't know why. I think it's just because it's so variable, you don't know what you're going to get. And it's really interesting to see how it affects everyone. There is one more thing I should mention. With medications, you've probably read the same thing I have, where it says on the box, in fact, you probably wouldn't be able to see it anyway, but one of the things it has in bold on my box of aripiprazole is, do not drink alcohol. It's not the same as where it says, this medicine may make you feel sleepy. If this happens, don't drive. That's one thing. But it says in bold, do not drink alcohol. Now, I don't listen to that. Anytime something tells me not to drink alcohol, I'm still going to drink. Not regularly, but when I do go out, I go out. And the problem I was finding, and I still find, is no matter how much I drink, whether it's just a little bit or a lot, I am always sick. Always. And it must be the way that they interact, because although I've had this warning on other medications, that's never been a problem for me. But with this, it really has. So that's something I should know and you should be aware of. Although you should follow the instructions. If it says not to drink, you shouldn't drink. But I don't do that. Yeah, so that's everything I've got to say in this video. I would love to hear your experience on aripiprazole, or if you've got questions about it, you're about to start it. Thank you for watching.